It's a good idea to put your paint out in the same sequence every time. I was never really good at that, and I paid dearly for being stubborn. So this is a primary palette. There are 2 reds, 2 yellows, and 2 blues. So I've started with the cool red, alizarin crimson, and beside it I've put the warm red, the cadmium red light. So we'll spread them out in just a second and talk about the characteristics. So here is the warm yellow, and beside it I'm going to put the cool yellow. So the warm yellow I'm using today is French yellow deep. It's also the same as cadmium yellow deep. You can substitute Indian yellow, which is what I did during the 2 years that I used this palette exclusively. I used the Indian yellow, and we'll get into why I did that in just a minute. Let's go ahead and lay the rest of the palette out. This is the cool blue, manganese blue. And the warm blue, ultramarine blue. All right. Now, a lot of my beginning students have a difficulty with my use of the word warm and cool. So in color, in painting, everything is relative. It depends on what is sitting next to it on the palette or on the painting, whether it appears warm or cool. So for the sake of this discussion, when I say that this blue is warmer than this blue and that this blue is cooler, what I mean is that this manganese blue is closer to the green side, and that the ultramarine blue is closer to the red side. It has more red in it. This has more green in it. Same thing with the yellows. The cadmium lemon has more green in it, and the cadmium deep or Indian yellow has more red in it. Okay. The alizarin crimson will have a more bluish cast, and the cadmium red light will have more of an orangey cast, a yellow cast. So they're primary colors, and a primary color is from these 6 colors, we can make all the other colors that we need. Now, we are going to add white. If you're working in oil or acrylic, you will need white. If you're working in watercolor, the white paper will be your white. So I'm going to put, this is there's a lot of different kinds of white, and I'm using a zinc titanium white, or that sometimes some manufacturers call it mixed white, and by that they just mean a combination of zinc white and titanium white. Titanium is cool, zinc is warm. When you mix the two together, it's more of a neutral white. It's my preference as a go-to white. All right, so there's a lot of questions about medium. Just for the sake of this exercise today, I am using what I have on hand, which is the Galca gel medium. I like it because it doesn't require a cup on my palette. So for general purposes, for me personally, it stays put where I can put it on the palette and it stays put. This is, I find, really handy if I'm working outdoors and the palette is tilting and then it doesn't slide. I don't need a cup that spills, all of that stuff. So that's just my personal thing. So let's test the colors now. All right. I'm going to put a little white in it so that you can see the color. And we're just going to make a swatch palette here. And this would be a good way to familiarize yourself with your palette when you first, if you're buying your colors for the first time or trying these particular colors after not having had them. I think it would be helpful to you to swatch them out. So I'm going to put out two different values of the same one. All right, now I'm going to wipe it in the rag and get the bulk of the color out pretty good here. And then switch to, I want clean white. Okay. Maybe a little stronger. Let's do it a little stronger. The only purpose of putting the red in putting the white in for this exercise is just so that you're seeing the saturated color without all of the, without the density. So the alizarin crimson is very deep and dense, and it's very difficult to see what the color is until you pull it out. Make a tint of this one. Okay. So I'm aiming for a deep, full density color here, and then just one tint. Just for basic familiarization with the palette. Now I'm going to switch paintbrushes. One moment. Getting a little bit of Gamsol. This is a high quality solvent. It will clean my brushes. You can also use it to thin paint. We'll get into that later as well. Now let's go back and get some. The yellows I don't need to cut with white. So to clean the brush, for those of you who are new at this, I'm wiping the excess off in the rag. Swish the brush a little bit. And again, this yellow, the cadmium lemon, I'm using this one fairly thickly. The yellows can go on thickly. So the cadmium colors are opaque colors. And if the advantage of using the Indian yellow for your warm yellow, the Indian yellow is a translucent color, whereas this is an opaque color. So it's really nice to have one be translucent and one be opaque. Back to the reds, the alizarin crimson is a translucent, the cadmium red light is an opaque. So this one that I'm using, the cadmium deep yellow, is opaque. But if I had the Indian yellow here on the palette today, you would see that it's transparent. Okay, now let's move on to the cool blue. This is one of the most beautiful blues. Oops, can use a little of that. Now, manganese blue is translucent, and you can see it starting to thin right there. Put a tint. And the ultramarine blue is opaque. Let's put a little white in it. Try not to get other color in it while we're doing this experiment here. I'm only putting enough white in it to get it out of the dense color so that you can see the tone, the pigment of it. Now, a lot of people have trouble distinguishing warm and cool when they first start working with it. So that's one of the benefits of working with the palette for an extended period of time. When I adopted this palette in 2013 on my artist journey in France, I continued using this palette for 2 years plus, almost 3 years after I returned. And what that did was eliminate a lot of the guesswork and the angst of not knowing. I was wasting a lot of time guessing about what color was what, trying to mix the right thing, being unsatisfied, being unhappy. So it really just cuts the guesswork out and allows you to focus on the color itself, because these are pure pigments. We're not using any earth colors, we're not all of that. It will give you the space to master color. Now, I have added, in my own personal palette, I have added several colors back in over the last year and a half. But it's been 5 years since I adopted this palette, and this palette was the game changer for me, was the game changer. Now, I did not give you this tint of this one. Let's get, that one's kind of, it's become dirty, so I'm going to put some clean out here. When you're first starting to work with this, it's important to keep the colors clean and to develop some little housekeeping, some housekeeping rules for yourself. It will help you tremendously in, there's the tint. It will just make life much simpler for you. So many people tell me how much they really want to be expressive with their paint and be free and cut loose and be loose brushwork. And this palette is the key to that. Because by simplifying down to 6 colors and focusing on just this, it opens up wide all of the other thought and effort that you were putting into trying to figure it out. It frees you from all of that. So this is the, by and large, most liberating thing that you can do for your paintings. Now, once you get your color chart made, I would highly recommend writing the colors in and making your notations. So let's put cad, red, light, and I'm going to put warm right next to it. And then I'm going to put alizarin, crimson, cool. Okay. Cad yellow. It's not writing. Cool. And then I'm going to write Indian yellow. Because that's the one I'm recommending for you. It's much better than this one. Warm. Okay. Ultramarine. Warm. And manganese. Cool. Clip it by your palette and use it as a reference point. If you make an ancillary chart, you can clip it with it. Happy painting.